Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 9 of the interviews playlist. Our special guest for today is Emma. Emma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a fourth year undergrad student at the University of Windsor.
Awesome. So let's start from the very beginning. What high school did you go to, Emma?
So I went to Ergy La Jeunesse in Windsor. It's a full French high school.
Awesome. And what volunteers and extracurricular experiences did you have in your high school?
Um, in high school, I primarily volunteered on just kind of my own terms. When I was 14, I started a non-for-profit and I continued doing work through that in the community. So I ended up recruiting a lot of volunteers through that. I have a couple of news article stories on it around, the Christmas time or my birthday. We did major events where, we gave back to the community. Just a couple examples, we raised money to fundraise a bike for a Syrian refugee who needed transportation. We gave back to the community in other ways, random acts of kindness, that sort of thing. So that was primarily my main focus for volunteer efforts in high school, just sort of nifty things around the community like that.
Oh, awesome. And did you have any part-time jobs?
Yeah, in high school, I worked, I think in grade 10, I started working at a pizzeria, Capri Pizza. And then after that, what did I do after that? It's a good question, so long ago. After that, I think I started working at a golf club in Amherstburg, and I was cleaning there, just sort of things like that. And then I became a server, but that wasn't until after high school.
Oh, awesome. All right. So moving into university, how was your first year at the university and what are some stuff that you found different than high school?
Yeah, so my first year of university was really difficult. I took an IB program at my high school, which was supposed to prepare you for high school and or sort of for university and get you some credits. And I found that to be really helpful, but my first year was really hard and I struggled really bad. I was in a not good relationship at the time, so I was focusing on that instead of my studies instead. My grades were not doing so well. I thought that, since I had a good background in high school, that I would be fine and, everything was just a review, so I shouldn't have to worry about anything. And that mindset really got to me in the end. I ended up failing 2 classes and dropping out of one in my first semester, so I had a really hard time. And then after that, I started looking for help and it got a little bit better. But what ended up being different from high school was the community. I went from a high school, my class was only 3, 4 students. I was in a really small program. I had a lot of support. And then going into high school, it really felt like into university, it was a big competition between the students, especially in science. The students are competing against each other. You don't have as much support, especially if you're not reaching out to the professors for help. So yeah, that for me, that was the biggest part, was that the lack of support that I felt that I didn't have. And yeah, it really got to me in the end, but I figured it out.
Yeah. Apart from academics in your first year, what are some other stuff that you were like trying to work on, like connections, volunteer experiences within the university community?
Yeah, so in my first year, I wasn't really looking into anything. I ended up joining a neuropsychology research lab in my first year because I had some experience in that in high school. So I ended up getting to that. But apart from that, I wasn't really looking for anything because I didn't understand the dynamics of university. I didn't have anybody to tell me how competitive it really was and, the track to take. I was super focused on getting into med school. And so I thought, just focus on the grades because eventually I thought at the time that that's what all that mattered. But eventually, in my third and fourth year, I started realizing that I needed to get some more experience. So obviously with COVID, that became really hard. And I ended up joining a freshwater ecology lab, Dr. Higgs's lab, and I fell in love with that. So aside from the academics, I was really focused on getting into a research lab, but that only came in my later years.
Some Okay, so like moving past first year and into your current year, what are some steps you took to, I would say, overcome the challenges you faced in first year?
Sure. So in my second semester of first year, when I realized that I was really struggling, I decided that I needed help, and I was getting emails to the University of Windsor for a program called Bounce Back. And obviously, I really needed that. I was at the brink of losing my entire undergrad to be expelled. It was not a good situation at all. So I reached out and they let me into the program. And essentially, the program is designed to help retain students who might be struggling academically, which obviously I was. So you take the program, it's like once or twice a week. You just show up and you kind of learn study strategies and taking notes effectively and, you know, being consistent with your work. And so we kind of learned skills like that in the program. But really for me, it was just being consistent with my work and making sure that I was on top of things, being consistent and being held accountable for what I had done, I guess. So that was really the main thing that helped me get back on track. So I did that. I took the program twice. I took it in second semester of first year and then first semester of second year online because of COVID. And after that, I started to see a really big increase in my grades. Obviously, for me, it was just the lack of focus. It wasn't necessarily that I was struggling with the content. It was just that I didn't really care at first. So I started to really put more focus into that and started to fall in love with school again. And it ended up working out for me. So it was really the Bounce Back program that saved me.
Oh, awesome. And what research experiences do you have so far apart from the neuropsychology?
Yeah, so the neuropsychology lab was the first one I did. I volunteered in that lab for about a year. And then I moved on to Dr. Higgs's sensory ecology lab, working on freshwater fish. And I've been working in his lab for the past year and then again this year. So in total, it'll be like 3 full years of research experience.
Awesome. All right. So speaking about the Bounce Back program, what are some points of strength that the program provides students who need it, and what would you recommend students who are struggling in their first years or even in any part of their undergrad program? What would you recommend them to do in order to overcome the challenge they're facing?
Sure. So the Bounce Back program really, like I said earlier, it's just a retention program. So it tries to keep the students who are in university remaining in university until they finish their degree. So really the program is designed to help students understand how they learn and to be held accountable for, you know, doing their work. A lot of the students struggle with that aspect and, you know, understanding how to make effective schedules that work for them and managing their workload, that sort of thing. So those are the skills that you learn in Bounce Back. It's a lot less lecture style. You know, you volunteer to sign up for it. So you have to understand that you're in a position where you need help. So that's a great first step for students. And I actually teach the second version of the program now, which is really exciting that, you know, I understand what it's like to go through that. And now I have my own version of the program under the Bounce Back program, which is really great. And we really just help focus on students understanding that they too can make a great change in their academic careers and that it's very much possible as long as they're willing to put in the effort. So I absolutely would recommend students to take the program if, you know, whatever point they are in the journey, if they're starting to realize that they need help or they feel that maybe they're in too deep. We've all been there before, so I totally get it. And the program is great. I think that all of us who work in the program are great at understanding the students' needs. And if anybody feels that they're struggling, there's lots of other resources on campus too, other than Bounce Back. We have learning strategists on campus and academic support in other areas, but Bounce Back overall is a great program.
Awesome. What are some tactics that you adopted to maintain your physical and mental well-being?
For me, and it was really challenging during COVID. I loved online learning. I think that was kind of the point in my career where I started to realize that school was important. And so aside from it being online, it gave me an opportunity to sit down and to be by myself and reflect on what I wanted from my own career and what I wanted from being an undergraduate student. So I guess for me, being online was a great tool for me. I know a lot of people struggled with that. I personally loved it. I'm an introvert, so it worked out well for me in that way. But another tool was really just being able to prioritize my academics. I guess that comes from more of like a mental strategy rather than like a physical, you have to want it. So being able to reflect on what I really wanted to do was important. And it ended up being really useful for me. Another thing too is being super open about your mental health and reaching out for support when you need it. I'm super open about that and reaching out to therapists and, being accountable for, when I'm struggling. So as silly as it may sound, for me personally, getting out into nature is what ended up being really good for me physically and mentally too.
Oh, awesome. And what are some, I would say, like some stuff you are involved in your free time, like in terms of hobbies, exercises, whether you go out with your friends?
Yeah, so I feel that with my program, I don't have a lot of time to go out and do anything, unfortunately. I'm not really involved in any major group. I do try to get outside with my friends once in a while. I enjoy birding, looking for birds. Um, I enjoy watching Netflix as every other person does too. And actually, I was thinking about starting a club called an Otter Spotter Club. Otters are returning back to the Detroit River for the first time in over 100 years. So it's really exciting to see them make use of this habitat. So I was thinking of maybe starting a club like that, but we'll see where that goes.
Oh, awesome. All right. And what are your future goals and how are you preparing yourself to be a well-rounded candidate for those goals?
Sure. So my future goals, they originated as in I wanted to go to med school, and as most science students are, when they come right into university, they think that that's the goal, because you're not really sure what else you can do. So some sort of professional school is what people usually tend to think right off the bat. Fortunately for me, I was really open-minded. And I took an ecology class as a part of my program requirements in my second year. I fell in love with that, and I decided, how can I get myself involved in that? So with my behavior background in neuroscience, I reached out to Dr. Higgs and I said, I really wanted to be in your lab. So for me, that was one way to get involved and to kind of build my resume. So I've been volunteering in his lab for the past year. And then this year I'm writing my thesis with him. So getting that thesis experience and getting that hands-on knowledge of writing and doing research is super important for me. So for me now, my career track is straying away from humans. And so yeah, my plan is to do a master's. I'm in the works of applying and doing all that right now. In order to set myself up for that, I'm just getting involved in research and, building a community on campus of other researchers and other biologists who understand what it's like to go through that, and just making those connections. Aside from that, I'm a part of the Society of Canadian Ornithologists. So I'm just trying to get involved in that kind of research and reach out to other professors who work with mammals and fish and just kind of see what's out there. And it's hard. It's a competitive world. It's a competitive field for sure. But yeah, to set yourself up for a master's, it's beyond the grades. It's also making sure you're a well-rounded candidate, getting involved in research, and just staying connected.
Yeah, fantastic. Since you mentioned you're a thesis student, what does your typical thesis day look like in terms of research, reading literature review papers, or just drafting something up?
So for me, I'm doing more of a behavioral thesis. So unfortunately, I don't get to actually go in the field this year. But I'm working with a PhD student. Her name is Rachel. She ended up going to Newfoundland and dropping out cameras off the coast of Newfoundland there. So I'm analyzing those videos. So for me, a day-to-day basis of being a thesis student is, writing up a proposal, making sure that your supervisor understands it and is on board with your research and it lines up with what you want to do. In my case, I'm working with a PhD student. So what I'm going to be doing is helping her with some of her work and what's going to be incorporated into her PhD paper. So, I have meetings with her, make sure that we're both on the same board. She's helping me we're collaborating on making sure that the methods are appropriate for the type of analysis that we want to do. We just ended up getting our video footage not too long ago, so uploading all of that to the cloud takes a long time. Starting to analyze the videos, making sure that you understand the species of study, what types of behaviors, being familiar with that kind of thing. And going forward, a day-to-day basis is, going to look like analyzing the stats and writing the results. And so you kind of go through different phases. And right now I'm in the more video analysis stage, I guess. So
Oh,
it changes throughout the semester, but for now, that's kind of where I'm at, and it's the most exciting part. So
nice. What are some tips and advices you would, I would say, give to students who would like to get started in the world of research?
I would suggest that they just be super open-minded. A lot of the times when you're an undergraduate, there's a lot of opportunities to volunteer. You don't have, the biggest selection necessary. You don't get to be super picky of what you want to, help with. But it allows you to be open-minded about what types of research you may want to conduct in the future. It opens your mind up to other types of research that you may have not known existed before. So it's really exciting. I would just suggest that, you pay attention to what your professors are saying in lecture. And a lot of the times they allude to the type of research that they do, and it really gets them fired up. So just pay attention to that. And if it excites you to reach out to the professor. A lot of the times you might not be taking a class with a professor that does some really cool research. So you can look at the university's research page and faculty page and go through their labs. I would suggest that you take your time if you want to reach out to them. Make sure that you're approaching them with a level of professionalism, and just be super enthusiastic about it too, because it's really cool stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, well, those are very valuable advices. Thank you so much, Emma, for being a guest speaker on my channel. We appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you.